I never wanted to be known as the owner's daughter. I wanted to be Sarah Johnson, the marketing specialist who earned her place through hard work and talent. That's why, when my father bought majority shares in Elite Marketing Solutions, we decided to keep our connection quiet. I would work my way up from the bottom, just like anyone else. It wasn't just about proving myself, it was about understanding the company from the ground up. Dad understood completely. He'd spent 30 years building his business empire from nothing, facing every barrier imaginable as a black entrepreneur in America. Starting with a small consulting firm in our garage, he built Johnson Enterprises into a respected name in business. "Experience it honestly, Sarah," he said, his warm brown eyes holding the wisdom of countless battles fought and won. "Sometimes you need to know the pain to create the cure." My first day at Elite was like any other new job. I wore my favorite navy blazer, carried my portfolio, and tried to calm my racing heart as I walked through the gleaming glass doors. The office was everything you'd expect from a top marketing firm. Modern, sleek, with floor-to-ceiling windows and the constant hum of activity. My immediate supervisor, Lisa Chen, welcomed me warmly and showed me to my desk. "The team's excited to have you," she said, helping me set up my computer. "Your portfolio really impressed us." Lisa was one of the few senior staff members of color, and I later learned she'd fought her own battles to reach her position. She became not just a supervisor but a mentor, showing me the unwritten rules of corporate culture. For 2 months, everything was perfect. I threw myself into every project, stayed late to meet deadlines, and quickly became known for my creative campaigns. My ideas were fresh, my numbers were strong, and even the senior staff started noticing my work. I collaborated with the design team, learned from the data analysts, and built relationships across departments. People started coming to me for ideas, and my campaigns consistently exceeded client expectations. Then came the Parker account. Parker Luxury Motors was a major client, a chain of high-end car dealerships, looking to rebrand their image and attract a younger demographic. This was the kind of account that could make careers. During a team brainstorming session, I presented a comprehensive digital strategy that would target younger, tech-savvy professionals. My research showed that luxury car buyers were getting younger, more diverse, and more focused on digital experiences. The campaign would include interactive social media elements, virtual showroom tours, and personalized digital marketing. The room loved it. The creative team was already sketching concepts, and the data analysts were nodding at the numbers. Everyone except CEO Robert Crawford. I noticed how he'd barely looked at me during my presentation, how his jaw tightened when others praised my ideas. But I kept pushing forward, refining the proposal, running the numbers. This could be huge for Elite, and I knew it. I spent weekends perfecting the pitch, creating mock-ups, and building detailed projections. A week later, I overheard Crawford talking to the creative director in the break room. "We can't put her in front of Parker," he said, not realizing I was around the corner. "You know how these old money clients are. They need someone more traditional. Someone they can relate to." My heart sank. But I wasn't surprised. I'd seen that look before, that mix of dismissal and discomfort that some people never learn to hide. It was the same look my father had described facing in boardrooms decades ago, the one he'd warned me about but hoped I wouldn't have to experience. Still, I kept working, kept improving, kept proving my worth. I came in earlier, stayed later. When others went home, I was still at my desk, polishing presentations, refining strategies. Lisa noticed and tried to warn me gently. "Don't work yourself to death proving something to people who've already made up their minds," she said. But I couldn't help it. Excellence had always been my defense against prejudice. The final presentation was scheduled for a Friday. Thursday afternoon, Crawford called me into his office. I'll never forget how he wouldn't meet my eyes, how he shuffled papers on his desk like they were suddenly fascinating. The corner office with its expensive art and city views suddenly felt suffocating. "Sarah," he said, still focused on his papers, "we're going to have Tom handle the Parker presentation." Tom. 6 months experience to my 4 years. But he had the right look, Crawford's words, not mine. Tom, who had to ask me to explain basic marketing metrics just last week. Tom, who'd never led a major campaign before. "Sir," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the anger building inside. I developed this entire campaign. I know every detail, every number, every strategy. I've already built relationships with their team. That's not the point, he cut me off, finally looking at me with cold eyes. It's about presentation. Image, you understand. I understood perfectly. So it's not about my abilities, I asked, though I knew the answer. His face hardened, a flush creeping up his neck. If you're suggesting what I think you are, maybe this isn't the right fit for you. In fact, I think it's best we part ways immediately. Just like that. Fired for daring to question why someone less qualified was presenting my work. Years of education, experience, and proven success dismissed because I didn't fit someone's image of what success should look like. I gathered my things quietly, held my head high as I walked past curious eyes and whispered conversations. Lisa tried to intercept me, her face a mix of anger and sympathy, but I shook my head slightly. This wasn't her battle to fight. Only when I reached my car did I let the tears fall. Not from sadness, but from anger. Pure, righteous anger. I called my father. The next morning, Crawford was surprised to find Thomas Johnson, CEO of Johnson Enterprises and new majority owner of Elite Marketing Solutions, waiting in the conference room. My father, tall, distinguished, with gray threading his temples, sat at the head of the table, my portfolio open in front of him. The board members lined the walls, their faces serious. Mr. Crawford, Dad's voice was calm but carried steel underneath. Would you explain why you fired the creator of this brilliant Parker campaign? The one that, according to your own notes, could revolutionize the company's market position? Crawford's face went pale, his eyes darting between my father and the board members. There were concerns about client relations. Concerns, Dad repeated, laying out my performance reviews, campaign successes, and client feedback. About my daughter? The silence was deafening. Your daughter? Crawford's voice cracked, his composure finally breaking. I stepped into the room then, standing beside my father. Yes, Mr. Crawford, but that shouldn't matter. What should matter is that I'm good at my job, that my ideas work, that I earned my place here. What followed was swift and decisive. Crawford was asked to resign. The board appointed new leadership, and Elite Marketing Solutions began a transformation that would redefine its future. I returned to my position, this time using my real name, Sarah Johnson. Not because of who my father was, but because I had nothing to hide. We implemented new hiring practices, created mentorship programs, and built a culture where ideas mattered more than appearances. Lisa became our first chief creative officer, bringing a perspective that had been missing from the executive floor. The Parker campaign? It was a huge success. Turns out clients care more about results than about who presents them. Our numbers soared. Other clients followed. Excellence, as it turns out, doesn't have a color. A year later, I sat in my new office, senior creative director, looking at a photo of Dad and me at my college graduation. You didn't just teach them about discrimination, he had said. You taught them about excellence. Now when I walk through Elite's offices, I see faces of every color, every background. I see talent recognized, ideas valued, careers blooming. And when a young black intern nervously presents her first campaign, I see myself. But her story will be different. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's changing the system that tried to stop you. Dad still jokes about Crawford's face that morning. But we both know it was never about that moment of shock. It was about all the moments that followed. The changes, the growth, the transformation of a company into what it always should have been. A place where talent matters more than appearance. Where creativity knows no color. Where excellence is the only standard that counts. That's my legacy. And it's worth more than any name could ever be.